So we just broke from our executive session where we had, we had some discussions with Chief Bennett and some discussion with the board, going over everything that's been going on recently. I have a letter that I am going to read at this point. It's a statement. I'm sorry, I have a statement from the board in regards to Michaela Miller. This is our Michaela Miller Select Board statement. Michaela Miller's death is a tragedy. I speak for all the Select Board members in expressing our grief and despair. As everybody knows from our agenda, the Select Board met in executive session earlier to discuss the planned vigil and demonstration Thursday concerning Michaela's death. But we think it's most important, overridingly so, to emphasize publicly what we must not forget. A vibrant and valued 16-year-old member of the Hopkinton community is no longer with us. We are deeply saddened by Michaela's death. The Select Board supports our community's efforts to express its sorrow and grief about Michaela's death. That includes the planned vigil and demonstration tomorrow. We understand the importance of community dialogue on this matter and the collective expression of grief and concern that the vigil and demonstration communicates. Both at the vigil and demonstration and otherwise, we encourage everybody to show their support for Michaela's family. We ask only that everybody is careful to choose their words and actions at the vigil and demonstration and elsewhere that are peaceful and respectful. We must also bear in mind that the investigation of Michaela's death is ongoing. Deaths such as Michaela's must be investigated thoroughly and thoughtfully by the district attorney in coordination with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner and the police department. In this particular circumstance, the investigation must be especially careful to respect the privacy rights of the minor children involved. Because the investigation is ongoing, our police chief has released a statement concerning Michaela's death, but he is not able to provide additional information. Chief Bennett has just very recently released that statement. That is the extent of what you're going to hear from the Select Board in regards to that. We are very fortunate to have District Attorney Marian Ryan here with us. She is going to kind of talk us through a little bit. She did make a statement earlier, and she is going to kind of have make a statement or have a discussion with us. And at the conclusion of that, the board members will have an opportunity to ask a question or two, and understanding that with it being an ongoing investigation, District Attorney Ryan is very limited as to information that she can put forth. So if Ben, if you could go ahead and liven up District Attorney Ryan's microphone.
Hello, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
It's Marian Ryan.
Hey, Marian, how are you? Or District Attorney, sorry about that. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. And I'm sorry, I was here. I could hear you, but we couldn't seem to connect. So I apologize for that.
Great. Well, thank you for making the time for us. I know that it's been a pretty hectic few days for you as well as for us. So we do appreciate you taking the time and coming on live with us to kind of make a statement and give us a little bit of understanding that. So we understand that the investigation's ongoing, that you're very limited as to the facts that you can provide us. Mm-hmm. But anything that you can kind of give us information on to steer us the right way and to try to quell some of the outlandish rumors and things that we're hearing people say, to kind of set our town back on the right track would be greatly appreciated.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. Before I speak a little bit to the case, I want to echo a little bit of what you just heard from the chairman with respect to Michaela. You know, what we should never take our eyes off in this discussion is that as many of you know, Michaela was a beautiful child. She was a cherished daughter, a gifted student, a talented athlete, and a very loyal friend. And for your community, and particularly for Michaela's family and the people who love her, this is an unspeakable tragedy. And we start from that great loss. And from the beginning of this investigation, we have been committed to determining exactly how Michaela's promising life came to an end on that Sunday morning. But what I want to be sure that people make no mistake about is that there is absolutely no truth. I want to repeat that. There is no truth to the allegation that we have reached a final conclusion in this case. Although we've learned some established facts, which I'm happy to talk about, the most important takeaway is that this investigation is ongoing and no conclusion has been reached. And I want to speak as well to the concerns that have been raised by members of the community and others that there's a notion that this office either neglected this case, maybe because Michaela was Black, or even worse, because she was a member of the LGBTQIA community. That as well is patently false. And over the past few days, we've heard, and I fully understand that, questions about what are the answers, what can you tell us about how Michaela died, what those circumstances were. And it is difficult to ask people to be patient while we wait for that, but we have to do this investigation in a way that does not compromise the integrity. And there also is no truth to the fact that there has not been contact with Michaela's family. We have been in close, in fact, almost daily contact with representatives for the family. The cause and manner of death are determined by the medical examiner, and we are awaiting a ruling from the medical examiner. There is, again, nothing unusual about the fact that we are 2.5 weeks out and haven't received that. That is not unusual. It takes time for them to do what they need to do. I've also, at my direction, had our investigators take certain items and samples to the crime lab. We will be awaiting results of forensic testing on those items as well. Some of the information that we can share, and I again remind everybody that this is preliminary investigation and that the case is not going to be closed until we've exhausted all avenues. And also remind folks of the fact that because there are juveniles involved in this case, that does impose some additional restrictions on what we are able to say. The information that I'm going to be talking about tonight was gathered as a result of interviewing dozens of witnesses, forensic analysis of cell phone data, review of other available evidence, including video footage. I can give you a timeline as to the events of the 17th and 18th of April. There have been allegations that there was a physical altercation between Michaela and other teenagers at the clubhouse or common area in the apartment complex where Michaela lived with her mother. What we know is that sometime between 5:17 in the evening and 6:41 on the evening of Saturday, the 17th, based on the cell phone data, a review of text messages, and a gathering of GPS messages data, we know that Michaela was initially at the clubhouse area with 2 friends. Those 2 friends left. She was then in that clubhouse area with 4 other teenagers, 2 males, 2 females. There was an additional female who had come with those 4, but remained outside of the clubhouse area. There was allegedly a physical altercation between Michaela and 1 female and 1 male of that group of 4 that had come. At 7:20 that evening, the Hopkinton police were called by Michaela's mother, who reported that her daughter had been jumped just recently at the apartment complex. Michaela reported to the police that she had been pushed and that she'd been punched on the face. The officers observed and documented that she had blood on her lip, consistent with what she reported. The investigation into that physical assault remains open. What we know is that following the physical altercation, Michaela told officers was she and those 4 individuals remained in that clubhouse for about another 20 minutes or so. She described that to the officers. After talking to Michaela and her mom, at about 7:43 that night, the Hopkinton police went to the residence of one of the females. They actually met up with both of the females who had been in the clubhouse with Michaela, took statements from them. They left, went back to the clubhouse area where they were able to make some observations of physical damage that were consistent with what had been recounted as to having taken place. The plan at that point was to return on Sunday and collect video information from the clubhouse management. Michaela was last reported seen by her mom sometime between 9:30 and 9:45 on Saturday evening. We know that she last made phone or text contact with another female different than the people who'd been at the clubhouse at 9 o'clock that night. Forensic information gathered from the health tracker on Michaela's phone indicates that between 9 and 10 p.m. on Saturday night, the phone traveled a distance of 1,316 steps. That is roughly the distance between Michaela's home and where she was located. And she was located in the area of 34 West Main Street at about 7:45 on Sunday morning by someone who was jogging and observed Michaela in the woods near the walking path. When Michaela was found, she had her phone in her possession and a backpack and other possessions were close by. We have pursued an extensive investigation in the 2.5 weeks since Michaela was found. We have been able to confirm through various means, and I'll talk about that a little bit, the whereabouts of all of the 4 individuals who were in that clubhouse with Michaela earlier in the evening. We know, based on the data we've collected, where they were, and it is not in the area of 34 West Main Street later that evening. Again, that has involved interviewing witnesses, analyzing cell phone data, and collecting some other electronic data. Based on witness statements and cell phone GPS, we know that the 2 females that were involved in the altercation have a confirmed location from 8:43 on Saturday night until 5:48 in the morning on Sunday. The 2 males who were not from Hopkinton left Hopkinton with a family member of theirs after the incident. The vehicle that they were traveling in passed through the Easy Pass on the Mass Pike at 8:08 on Saturday evening and exited the Mass Pike in Charlton at 8:58 p.m. Those 2 males are observed inside a car ordering and eating food that they obtained from the Wendy's in Sturbridge at 9:06 in the evening. The 3rd female who had remained in the car is placed by witnesses, interviews with witnesses at her residence throughout the evening. I say all of this, and again, it's premised on what I began with. Nothing brings Michaela back or really consoles her family. What we can do, and in fact, what we owe her, is a really accurate and fulsome accounting of what happened. You have my word as the district attorney, as a mother who cannot imagine and hopes never to imagine the pain of losing a child, that we will deliver that answer. But it is going to take some time for us to get to that. And in accordance with that promise, the other pledge that I make you is, I believe very strongly that our job is both to conduct an unbiased, thorough, and complete investigation. That's one piece. The second piece is to deliver the information from that investigation so that the public can be assured of the transparency and know the work that went into that investigation. So you have my word, when we have finished that investigation with permission as it applies from Michaela's family, I will release every shred of evidence that I am allowed to release. I will post it on our website. People will be able to see and review that. And that will be done because that is what we owe to Michaela. I am happy to take questions from the board or anyone else who has questions as to where we are in this investigation or what has been done so far.
Thank you, District Attorney Ryan. And I appreciate your honesty and transparency. We have made a decision that we are going to allow the board to ask some questions. We are not opening up to the public. So we will, I will go sequentially, and I'm not going to limit it to one question. I'm going to go sequentially through the board as we normally do, and then we'll go through it. And but thank you for coming on and helping us out this way, Mr. Nasrullah. DA Ryan, this is Irfan Nasrullah. He is our vice chair. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, District Attorney Ryan. That was very helpful. I did have one question. You had mentioned that because she was a minor, that imposes certain other restrictions on what could be released. If you could just expand upon that, is that a statutory issue? Is that something that has to do with the ongoing investigation? How does that work?
It in part, thank you, sir. It in parts relates to the juveniles who are involved in the altercations that went forward. As you know, cases against juveniles, typically the names of those individuals are not released.
Okay, but and as far as it seems as though a lot of the public is asking for details, and my understanding is that the juvenile nature of this restricts what can be disclosed and what needs to remain under investigation while we're gathering facts. Is that correct?
Yes, and not particularly the juvenile as to that piece. We have to, obviously, as we're conducting the investigation, we have to preserve the integrity of that investigation because we don't know where it's going. That is why typically what happens is we conduct our investigation. When we get to the end, then we make public the results of that. I've made some information public today, really because of the heightened public interest and the need for the community to at least have some information.
Of course. I mean, it's a tragic event, and our hearts go out to the family. And I appreciate everything you're doing to investigate and determine exactly what happened and honor Michaela. I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nasrullah. Mr. Herr, Brian Herr is our senior member, just finishing up his 5th term, I think, in a couple of weeks.
District Attorney Ryan, thank you for joining us this evening. I don't have any questions specifically. I do appreciate you providing the information you did this evening. I think that will help the community understand somewhat what happened. Certainly not the final details or the final conclusions. Those will come at some point in the near future. I just wanted to say to you and to everyone else, as you have said, and Mr. Nasrullah already, it's a really tragic situation. I have 5 children. I can't imagine, what the parents are going through. Our community is going through the same thing on many levels. When we lose one of ours, we all feel it, and we're all feeling the pain of that. And I would just ask us all to be patient and hang in there until we get all the facts and have a clear understanding of what happened. And, unfortunately, it won't bring Michaela back, but it will help us put some closure on this as a community, and I certainly appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herr. Mary Jo Lafreniere.
Thank you very much, District Attorney, for being with us tonight. I think you have answered all of my questions. I just wanted to say that my heart goes out to the mother of this young lady, and I want to respect her and respect her family. And I just want to say to everybody who's out there, speculation isn't going to help, and it doesn't help. And rumor and innuendo don't help either. So this investigation is going on, and please refrain from opinions until it has ended. And I thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mary Jo. That was well put. Amy Ritterbusch.
Thank you. I watched the press conference this afternoon, and I thought it was really helpful, and it will help people understand more what they can know. And I understand some things can't be shared yet with the public. So I hope you'll continue to update us periodically on what's going on with the investigation, because it is so sad and tragic. I have a high schooler myself, and I can't even imagine what the family is going through. And I think we have some work to do as a town after a loss like this. What can we learn from it? How could it be prevented? And more. So thank you very much. But I think my questions have been answered so far.
Thank you, Amy. So District Attorney Ryan, just by reasonable deduction, and I did not have a pen and paper as you were reading your facts, it sounds by reasonable deduction. So one of the reasons we're calling this selectman meeting right now, select board meeting now, is for all the implied potential issues that will be at our common in our town on Thursday. And some of the, when I listen to you read out the facts and timelines and distances and locations of everything that you have said, you know, all of the speculation should be put to rest as far as some of the horrific accusations of our police department, of our townspeople, of our children, of our townspeople. This, as all of our board members have said, this is a tragedy, and all the nothing is going to bring Michaela back, nothing. But by implying some of these wretched implications, it has turned our town into a circus. And I don't think that is anything that Michaela would want. I don't think that that's anything that her parents would want. I know it's nothing that I, as a selectman, want, me as a parent, and me as a very proud townsperson wants. None of that helps us get through the tragedy that has happened. By you coming on here today and telling us the facts that you told us should, to any reasonable person out there, should put to rest any thought process that there's been wrongdoing been done, whether it be the Hopkinton police trying to cover something up, or the massive implications of the horrific crimes that they were implying that the town was covering up. And it hurts me to the core that this would get state exposure and national exposure on the implication of some of the things that people have done, or some of the things that they have implied, that could even happen, and that anybody would cover that up, and that people took that and ran with it. It sickens me. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you and I applaud you for coming out and telling us dates, times, facts, factual information that anybody with a pencil or a calculator can figure out that what has happened, and understanding that the investigation is ongoing, and that none of us know anything more than what you've told us right now. No matter how many Facebook accounts you have, you don't know. None of us know anything more than what you've told us right now. And this town has been hurting very tragically since the morning of April 18th, and more so since Saturday, when all these flyers were coming in from people from out of town, talking about these heinous crimes that have been covered up. So I thank you very much for doing what you did. Hopefully, these people that have made these implications put numbers together, they can put a sentence together, and they can say, we're wrong and we're sorry. I don't even care if you say you're sorry, just say you're wrong, and make Thursdays get together at the Common, make it a very peaceful, non-eventful get together, as well as some of the other kids in this town that are bearing the burden of a lot of this stuff. A lot of this can be put to rest. And I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, as I have said, if this were my child, if I were in that unimaginable position, no speed would be fast enough for me. And I would be going to the ends of the earth to find out what happened to my child, to know what my child's last moments included. So I understand that when we say to people, this is open and active, it is asking an extraordinary amount from people. But to be clear, there has been no cover up here, and premature conclusions don't serve anyone. They certainly don't serve Michaela. They don't serve Michaela's family, and really should be avoided by the same logic in which we ask people to wait till we get there. So I am happy to provide information when we have that, and certainly when we are finished, to give a complete accounting of what we knew, when we knew it, and what it means.
District Attorney Ryan, I appreciate your time. Board members, does anyone else have anything else to add before we let District Attorney Ryan go? Mr. Nasrullah?
No, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. We really appreciate it. We're not used to this kind of exposure in town, and it's good to know that you're on top of it. Thank you.
Mr. Herr?
All set. Thank you.
Ms. Lafreniere?
I think all I want to say is that let's make Thursday a celebration of Michaela's life, and have a very, very peaceful demonstration.
Ms. Ritterbusch?
I agree with Mrs. Lafreniere. Yeah, I hope we have a very nice, peaceful demonstration in memory of Michaela on Thursday.
Yep. District Attorney Ryan, we're going to cut you loose here. Thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate it. No, anytime. Anytime you want to come on, you're certainly welcome on my show, which will only be for about another 3 weeks. But
thank you.
Again, thank you very much. Mr. Nasrullah, Mr. Kamala, we've satisfied all our requirements here tonight, correct?
Yes, you're correct, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Nasrullah, if you would do the honors.
Mr. Chair, I move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Nasrullah, how do you vote?
Nasrullah, yes.
Mr. Herr?
Herr, yes.
Ms. Lafreniere?
Lafreniere, yes.
Ms. Ritterbusch?
Ritterbusch, yes.
And Ted Stone, yes. And to the public, that the 330 or so people that joined us on this meeting, as well as everybody that watched on HCAM and any other platform, thank you all very much for taking the time and reasonably and rationally working with us. We appreciate your patience. And if there's any questions, we hope that we can answer them very honestly and transparently in the very, very near future. So thank you all very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.